Do you ever wonder why someone stays in an abusive relationship? If you watch the Netflix series Baby Reindeer, they do a really good job in thought provoking and in making you feel certain emotions, especially the first three episodes where they are introducing the character and they are introducing the stalker. And the development of how things are getting so twisted, so confusing, and so complicated have us in our seat, kind of watching and questioning what is he doing? Why is he doing the things that he's doing? Why does he continue to engage with the stalker? And if you felt puzzled by his behavior, and for those who haven't watched Baby Reindeer, this is a true story. Is a fantastic series. It is heavy, though. I have to say that it comes with sexual assault. There is trauma, abuse. But what they do is in the first three sessions, it is the first three episodes, they they make you feel quite frustrated because they're showing you things that are happening that as an outsider you wonder, why is it happening, why is he doing this, the victims itself. And then they go into the fourth episodes and they show you his background, and they show you a very specific time of his life where he was sexually assaulted by a mentor that he trusted. This was someone who made him believe that in the things that he wanted to do. He believed on the main character in ways that he couldn't believe about himself, and this led to him wanting to get that fame that the mentor promised. And this led to multiple sexual assaults, and it gets really heavy, and they show that piece. So if you're watching it, just this is a caution, because there is some sensitivity, especially if you yourself have gone through abuse, sexual assault. And then there is a piece there in the series where he's reflecting about his love for a specific person that he dated. And he said, the only thing that I love the most, that I love more than, and then he mentions the name of the partner, is hating myself. The only thing that I love more than this person is to hate myself. That opens up to a new reflection of his past, on how his disconnection from his own heart and his self-hate led him to still need to be dependent on other people for love, because we all need love. We need attention. We need connection. That's part of our human experience. So when we disconnect from our heart, and instead of that, in replacement of that, we replace it with self-hate, we're in a very vulnerable spot. And in this series, they show how vulnerable he is, and how this attention from this person led him to even be dependent of this stalker. And there is one thing that we tend to forget, is that when we talk about abusers, people tend to think about this awful person. Like from the outside, we can describe the abuser of this awful person. What are you doing? Run. Okay. And what we tend to forget is that abusers are not always these, the portrayal of an abuser is not this obvious, terrible person. Sometimes an abuser is a complex person, someone who went through their own traumas, and they now come across with a complexity of emotions, and the way that they interact with the world is not necessarily healthy, but they are not necessarily monsters. Okay, so in this specific series, Baby Reindeer, they portray this stalker, and they show also her humanity, and they show also how the victim felt so much empathy for this stalker. because he could relate to her need for attention, her need for love. And there is another piece there that really gets my attention, is towards the end, almost at the end of the series, where he's listening to some voice messages that she has left. And she explains of why she calls him baby reindeer. And she explains that when she was little, she had a stuffed animal, that it was a reindeer that she used to hold really tightly when things at home really got really violent, and when she was alone and she felt unsafe. And that when she looked at him, he looked exactly like her baby reindeer. And that's why she called him baby reindeer. So this, once again, this brings this piece about her and being a kid, and a vulnerable kid who struggled, who went through trauma on her own. Okay. Now this doesn't excuse an abuser, so I'm not saying, well, we need to excuse the behavior of an abuser, but it helps us understand that as a victim, we are not necessarily just seeing this big monster coming to us. We are seeing a complexity of a human experience when seeing someone who can be so good. It could be so empathetic, so loving, and also so awful, and so disconnected, and so aggressive. And remember that abuse is not only physical abuse, it's not that evident. Sometimes it's a lot of the times emotional abuse, right? Manipulation, the way control. And an abuser also, when you think about a victim who hates themselves already, okay, and still wants love, wants attention, wants connection, sometimes what abusers tend to do is that they can love bomb them. Okay, so this brings us back to the cycle of abuse, that a victim needs this love, so an abuser gives them this love bombing, and this feels so good, and it becomes so confusing, because how can this person hurt me so much when at the same time can it love me so much? I feel so loved by this person, and then I feel also all the pain that this person is causing. So it helps us understand a bit of the complexity of why it is so hard to leave an abusive relationship, someone who you feel have the capacity to show you so much kindness and love, but also someone that can hurt you. And unfortunately for a lot of people, their experiences as they're growing up was similar. A place where sometimes they felt safe being at home with their parents, and sometimes that same home and that same parents where they felt so loved and so safe, they also felt unsafe. They did not feel safe, and they feel hurt and betrayed and rejected from the same people. So there is so much complexity when we talk about the cycle of abuse, when we talked about victims of abuse, and we wonder from the outside, we wonder, why are they staying so long? What are they doing? Right? If you watch that show, you will see it's a true event, it's a true story. So it becomes even more enraging of like, what are you doing? Why are you leading her on? Why are you doing these things? Why are you not doing something about it? It becomes very frustrating because from our outside world, we're disconnected to their emotional experience, and their emotional experience comes from places that potentially they experience trauma, which itself is so complex, right? So the abuser may be moving all these traumatic events and all these feelings, and they're intertwined between the abuse and the love that the abuse is giving them, and also their own rejection towards yourself, their self-hate. Okay, so if you yourself have gone through abuse, are in right now facing a relationship that is abusive, or you have someone who is, remember that the one thing that they need the most is love. We all need love. And sometimes a victim cannot do that for themselves. The more that they stay, they may already come with that injury where they hate themselves. And the longer that they stay in these relationships, the more that they may get to that place of not loving themselves. They may come already with a belief that their emotions, their thoughts, they don't matter. And that self-worth piece, they may not believe that they are worth any better, that this is all they deserve. And what happens in this dynamic is that the people around the victim tend to little by little walk away from them, because it's so hard to be there for someone who is in an abusive relationship. It's so hard to support them because our own ego and our own frustration gets in the way. We start to disconnect because we find it so hard to remain open and loving when we feel that this person is just choosing to go back to the abuser. Like if it's just that simple. They're just choosing. They're stupid. They're just choosing to go back. When we make that conclusion, we just become so frustrated that at the end we're like, I'm done. I'm done with that person. I can't do it anymore. They can just go and be with the abuser, right? And we tend to forget that what that person needs is love. And if you went through that abuse, having that compassion towards yourself is not easy to leave an abusive relationship. It has so much interplay from what's happening within you and your own experience, and is what is bringing up for you. That is not an easy decision. So if you went through it and your work is still in towards building your own self-worth, remember to be compassionate. Remember to be loving. That's so important. I love you. And I really rooting for you. And I hope that you have the strength to root for yourself and to root for these people around you who may need your love. It's not an easy task, but if you can remain there and remain open and loving, you're already supporting them in ways that someone else could not. Happy Friday. Until next time, I am Emily Alsina, and if you're liking my content so far, you can follow me on my YouTube channel, or you can follow me in Facebook, Kind Therapy Ottawa, workshops and retreats. I'll see you next time.